so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
All right, 12:04 on a Tuesday. Thank you very much for being here. It is Two Guys and a Goalie. Zach Dickham's currently working on centering myself and Cass up a little bit. I like the way it's shot right now. Anyway, he'll get that set up. And we'll dive into Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by GS Construction. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you can text us at 780-218-9999. If you're watching over on YouTube today, you can hammer the thumbs up and chime in on the chat as well, and we'll get to a few more of your comments over there. The Edmonton Oilers preseason action last night, we'll definitely get into that. Two Guys and Goalie, brought to you by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of that team. Check it out. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca, click on Ready to Work, or just visit their page at Indeed.ca. And with the Next Up Person program at GS Construction, it's not just a job, it is a career. Cass, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
Good,
Yeah, ready to get this thing going. I mean, exhibition is great, but it's not nearly as fun as the regular season. So just ready to have everything hit the ground running here, fellas.
Yeah, I thought I'd be extra excited to watch a preseason game because it was on TV last night.
Yeah,
but in the end, it was still preseason. Now, I did take a few notes, a few things to discuss.
Wow.
Well, up here, I didn't write them down. I mean, I'm not a psycho. I'm not writing down preseason notes. But yeah, no, watch most of the game last night, so we'll definitely get into that. If you watched it and you have any thoughts on where this blue line is at, or however you want to read into it, we can definitely get into that as we work our way through the show. Speaking of things that were watched, you watched the McMahon documentary already, Gager?
Yeah, I burnt through it.
How many episodes? What is it?
Six. So
an hour a piece type of thing, or shorter?
Around there. Yeah, it took me a couple days, but
is it worth checking out or what?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in that era of wrestling. Like I remember pretending I was those wrestlers, the figures, all that stuff. So it takes you through the start of the territories and the battles and how McMahon became like just the owner of it all.
Just a greasy bugger, not to spoil it, but
yeah. But everyone when they get to that level, I think, have to be greasy at certain times. And yeah, he's and I mean, I think it was the documentary itself was supposed to be a little bit more just on him, but then the allegations came out and they actually had to stop his interviews, I guess, at a certain point. So, but it was good. I enjoyed it. It did. You saw all the famous guys, and it went back to WrestleMania and all the things that happened and how the whole feud between WCW and the WWF, and then eventually them taking over. It's really good.
Cass, do you have any interest in watching that documentary?
Yeah, we started. We started.
Okay.
Yeah, we're about half an episode in. So we just kind of just started. I haven't had too much of a chance to dig through too much of it. But yeah, no, it's one I want to watch. Primarily, I go back to, and I remember this. I remember my dad taking me and my brothers to, still WWF back then, but to WWF in Edmonton. We still thought it was real as little kids, and seeing Undertaker fight Yokozuna in a coffin match in Edmonton, and Razor Ramon fought then too. I made my dad. I remember I got some of those, those colored, the shades that he always wore. We convinced him to get us some of those, and it was just a great time as a kid. So I'm interested in it. It's, the making of an empire, and in some ways the fall of not the entire empire, but of an individual that kind of created it. So it's interesting. so far. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to getting through the rest of it.
Let's get to a couple of text messages. 780-218-9999. Jen texts and says, hey guys, was there supposed to be a keyword for the lock shop for the trip? No. With our expanded shows, here's what we're doing. It's the EST Flyaway to LA. Trip for two, December 26th to December 30th. Trip for two to Los Angeles. You will watch the Warriors and the Clippers. You'll watch the Cardinals and the Rams. And then depending on the scheduling of the Cardinals and Rams, you will watch Edmonton take on either the Ducks or the Kings. Now, you have a chance to qualify on the Nielsen Show, on the Hangout, on EST Afternoons with Hernan and Gager, and then on the Reed Wilkins Show later on today. So 4 opportunities to qualify. Morning Show, Hangout, EST Afternoons, and on the Reed Wilkins Show. And on Saturdays with Hello Hockey. That's another one that you can get in on as well. So those are your chances to qualify. So no qualifying word on the Log Shop or in the noon hour hockey show, whether it be Two Guys and a Goalie or the Oil Stream. Lots of reaction to the McMahon thing. I'll have to watch this. It feels like something I want to, like my wife's not going to want to watch that. I'm going to download that and watch it on planes. That's what's going to happen there.
I forgot the term, but they get into what is called kayfabe. Do you know what kayfabe is?
No.
It's a term that they use, I think, in the circus for stuff that's not real, but that's the wrestling term that they had. You don't break kayfabe, right? Like if anyone asks, is it real? Is this?
Isn't the whole thing kayfabe?
Yeah. But I mean, it was way more prominent back in the day, right? So, and they go through a certain situation where guys broke codes and got punished and stuff like that. So it's the Undertaker his interviews in it are really good too. Like he gets into the whole. I don't want to ruin. Are they
throwing back to interviews back in the day, or are they interviewing these guys now? Okay,
all now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I look forward to it. I was a big wrestling fan in the late '90s, early 2000s, and then it just life changes and
they call that the Attitude Era.
Yeah, that's right. I was an Attitude Era guy, 100%. I always think that was wrestling's peak, but that's because that's when I was there.
Well,
right?
they kind of allude to it.
It's got to be pretty darn close.
It's pretty close to that.
Yeah, I would think so. All right, lots to get to here on Two Guys today. If you watched a game last night, you have any thoughts, feel free. Hit us up in the Nasty Chat, or you can text us at 780-218-9999. Jen is over in the Nasty Chat, says, your wife will like it, Dusty. I enjoyed it, although I'm a D-Gen. So, yeah, I don't think my wife would have a lot of time. She's like, what show do you want to watch? I think what we might start watching, we just finished The Bear. We're almost done at House of the Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
We got like 1 or 2 episodes left. I like that show. I don't love it like I love Game of Thrones, but I like it. It's okay.
I haven't watched it yet.
And then, what's that? Only Murderers in the Building or whatever?
The Steve Martin
Short. I don't know. Everybody seems to say really good things about it. So
we haven't finished that one. It's one of those ones where it's kind of got tossed into the we watched some and so I really enjoyed it.
Not must watch though, Cass, or
I wouldn't say like necessarily must watch, but I really enjoy it. My wife didn't enjoy it as much. She's like, it's too boring, and so I'm like, oh, it's interesting and quirky and kind of funny. So I enjoyed it. Like I've really liked it. So. We've kind of slowly chipped away. It's been a couple months since we watched any of that one, but
I like watching any show with my wife, and it's a brand new show, and it's like probably 20 seconds in, and she goes, "What's this about?"
I know.
I'm like, "What?"
I know.
What's going on? What is this? Why are they doing that? Like the first 5 minutes is always me answering questions.
But you don't know the answer.
But I don't. We're starting to watch this at the exact same time, sweetheart. I don't know what's going on.
You just described the first 25 minutes of every episode of House of the Dragon. Every single one. She's like, "Oh, what's this guy about?" I said, "I've never seen this guy before. I have no idea." I want to start asking her just to see how it is.
My response is always, "Are you thinking out loud again?"
Yeah. Are you thinking out loud again? My wife actually texted me. She's substitute teaching at the kids' school today. So she texted me. She goes, "Hey, can you go by the store and pick something up for dinner tonight?" And this is me, Vince McMahon, walking into Italian Center Shop. Italian Center Shop today. I'll be taking the spaghetti and meatballs. And I love it. Yeah, that's the Nielsen family's having Italian Center Shop for dinner tonight. All right, let's get into it. Gage, Cass, did you watch the game at all last night? It was on Sportsnet. I don't know if you caught any of it.
I got some of it. Yep.
Okay, all right. Gage, let's start with you. General thoughts on the win over the Canucks last night. Anything jump off the page?
It was a good win. I mean, the Canucks had a little bit depleted lineup. When I see certain guys in certain situations, I go, okay, you probably have Pettersson there, you have Miller there, so obviously the game's going to look a little bit different. But I enjoyed watching that game. I thought there was some good plays. I mean, the focus was more on the defense, I think.
Sure.
And I had comparisons. I didn't even know I was doing this, but I was looking at Vincent Desharnais and I was looking at Josh Brown to see the difference because it's kind of, that was the wash, right? And I just felt that watching them both, it looked like it was a little bit more difficult to play against Desharnais than it was Brown.
Did you think Desharnais moved the puck better than Brown?
He made a couple
decent,
but that was a progression too. Like he wasn't great at it when he first got. From the end of the season 2 years ago till the next season over the summer, he talked about how he trained. It was a lot. His first pass was a lot better last year, and then when the game sped up, he got a little bit handcuffed. But Brown was just backhands up the boards the other way, like not looking.
There's a few given away from behind his net up along the boards. So nobody. I was just
those. If you have a Makar, or a Quinn Hughes that's intercepting that's a good chance against, guaranteed almost every time. If you're just firing it up to nobody.
All right, there's certainly a conversation to have about the back end. Cass, anything stand out for you from what you saw of the game last night?
Yeah, well, I think the same thing, Gage. We're drinking the same juice there. Where I just in watching that, I was just like, man, Brown looks like he costs half as much as Vinny Desharnais. And just kind of chewing on that. Oh, that's a 3-year contract for him. Like I get that he brings some of the physical elements that you would like that Desharnais has in terms of being a big body, does have the ability to be physical on occasion. But, as we've gone further in preseason where I'm just like, man, is he a guy that's going to start the year in Bakersfield? Are you comfortable with him playing 14 minutes a night right now to 16 minutes a night? And I don't know if that's the case. Now, a little bit more preseason to go, but just kind of furthered that. If I was going to look at something else in the game, as has been, I think, a fairly popular topic, that second line hasn't clicked yet. I'm not concerned about it, but a couple, it was like a game of really highs and lows for the Leon Draisaitl line where, for Draisaitl and Skinner and Arvidsson, they had some moments when they looked really, really good and really efficient. And I was like, oh man, this could be something. And there was moments where they struggled a little bit. Now, some of that could be comfort and getting used to one another. Some of that, there's going to be games when you're not the best all game and you can't expect first time really playing together that it's just everything's going to be magic the entire time. But was paying attention to that as well, because we've waited to see that line. That's the line that's penciled in heading into the regular season that we probably are going to see in the first real time to see them as a line in a hockey game. And again, there was some good puck possession, and then there was some not as good puck possession. So want to see more from that group and more from that line as we progress. But that was one of the things that I was watching as well, and just kind of saying like, okay, there's a few sparks, which is, I think, a really positive sign. And then, a few flat shifts where I'm not overly concerned yet at this point, but just something to watch and pay attention to as we continue to roll towards the regular season.
What do you think, Dusty?
Well, a couple of things, and I see waivers just came down today. There's 4 Edmonton Oilers on waivers. Peterson, Kemp, the goalie, okay, and Ben Gleason. And I thought Gleason might get a little bit of a lot. Like, to me, Gleason looks better than Brown. I mean,
but he doesn't have the contract.
Well, no, but Brown's contract can be buried. Like,
I know, but he doesn't have the contract. I mean, yes, he can bury it from a cap standpoint.
Well, Gleason has a contract. He's not. You're thinking Dermott.
No, maybe I'm thinking Dermott.
Dermott doesn't have a. Gleason has a contract. He's under contract with the club. He looks better than Brown. Somebody texted in earlier today and said, guys, what's wrong with Gleason? Like, whenever you see Gleason, you're kind of like, oh, Gleason's not bad. Like, I power ranked the D-men today, and I would have them right now: Stetcher, Emberson, Dermott, Gleason, Brown. So, another preseason for Gleason, and then back down to the American League.
I mean, I like Gleason. Emerson was fine yesterday. But Dermott, I thought, was really good. Like, really, really good. To the point where there's probably a really tough decision to make right now with what to do with the rest of the, what is it? I think it's a little over 900,000. Like, obviously it'd be league minimum for Dermott to sign, but I don't know. Do they want to keep that money for later? That's tough, man. Because he looked good. He looked, maybe, I don't know.
He looks better than
Brown.
He
looks better than Brown. Like that's $1 million not well spent per year. You could have, I think, a way. I mean, you talk about the physicality with Brown. That's the one thing I like. There's engagement, but his physical battles, you don't see him win them.
I don't think his physicality is that he's a bruiser. I think it's that he fights. I think because to me, he doesn't move well enough to punish anybody with his physicality, but he obviously is a guy who will drop the gloves and fight. But I just don't know how those guys get 3 years. Like
Darnay, at least his physicality is more his play against a player with the puck, right? Like battling in front. It's I don't think, how many fights did Darnay get into in 2 years? 2? Like it's
not many when needed. Like it just doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, he goes and puts that bear hug on you, and that's it.
Yeah. Guys, what do you think? Dermott, you mentioned it though. Dermott's a guy who doesn't have a contract yet.
Yeah.
Brown does. I think, to be honest with you, I don't know why Brown got one and Dermott didn't in the first place. Dermott's 3 years younger. He's got a better resume in the National Hockey League than Brown. He moves better than him. He moves a puck better than him. I can't think of a single reason outside of that guy might have to fight somebody 4 times a year for him to be on the roster ahead of Dermott. I really
But you
can't.
don't even really need somebody to fight somebody 4 times.
Well, agreed.
A year.
Agreed.
There's no one in the division to fight.
Agreed.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. As the preseason's gone on, Gage, and we discuss this guy over that guy, but the overall picture of the blue line, less confident, more confident, same confidence level as you had going into the preseason.
I liked it a lot better last night than I have in all the games prior. I think there was some good movement. Everyone seemed to move around quite well. Stetcher, I still think there's I equate this the same way with the Draisaitl line. I think there's times when he's just trying to do a little bit too much still. I think once he kind of settles in, he'll be a real serviceable guy, I think. I like the way they look so far because although the Canucks didn't have their full lineup, they had some guys that had some speed, and it seemed like for the most part that the Oilers D handled it quite well. I feel a lot better than I did after those first 3 games of the Oilers D after watching it last night.
What say you? 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999 is where you can get in. Zedmo says Brown played for Chris Knobloch in the past. But where? Like I'm just going over. I'm trying to figure out where he played.
He won a Memorial Cup, right? With I forget who.
Brown played 4 years for the Oshawa Generals.
He won there, I guess.
Knobloch was coaching the Erie Otters at the time. I'm trying to think where then he played in Portland. Well, Knobloch wasn't there. Springfield.
I think he's thinking Emberson.
I think you're thinking Emberson. I don't see a crossover here with Brown.
No.
Guys, Dermott will beat out Stetcher and Brown. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Zedmo says maybe the hacking and slashing on 97 and 29 requires a Brown on the bench. I don't know. I don't. I disagree.
No.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I just don't think that, you know how you stop that? You go out and you bury 3 goals in the power play and you slash them back a few times.
And you do what Corey Perry did last night, too. You just go and have a discussion with the guy that's acting like an idiot in preseason. I mean, Puce, if you're gonna do something like that, I have no respect for. Like, at least don't go limp and just go, I didn't do anything. I did, like, protect yourself. Don't be. I know you're from Switzerland, but you don't have to be completely non-committal in any sort of battle.
Gage, I asked you about this morning. Hoffman released from his PTO. I don't think we have really any thoughts on that.
No.
Warm body for a bit, and
yeah, not surprising.
We'll see what happens on that front. How many preseason games Craig Button brought this up today. He was complaining, and I agree with him. 8 preseason games is quite a bit. How many would you have liked to have as a player, Cass? What's that sweetheart deal? 4 or 5 games max?
4 or 5.
Yeah,
4 or 5.
You playing a couple of them?
Yeah, I'd say 5 games, right? You have 2 where some of your younger guys are in, first round picks, bubble guys getting an opportunity, 2 games, and then 3. That game 3 is kind of the mix of the 2 where you start to get more veteran guys in, and then the last 2 you're full bore with your guys and with your expected lineup, along with maybe just 1 or 2 extras where you're trying to make final decisions. But to me, 5 is a sweet spot. They're never going to change it, though. There's no use complaining about it to me, because it's like they're not. That's money, right? It's money in. You have that included in the part of the prices of season tickets, is that exhibition schedule, charging for it. So I can't see them changing it. Incredibly unlikely that they change that.
I mean, I speak from looking at it differently. If I was myself, I wouldn't mind playing as many as possible, just to try to assert myself as a guy, a serviceable goaltender. But if you're Stuart Skinner, I think 2 is the I'd rather him not play at all the rest of these games.
I think he'll probably get one more.
I know. I think that. I don't like that. I think he's played enough. He made some good saves. I want him a little bit hungry too going into that first game. Like I want chomping at the bit, wanting to get in there. I think what he's done is fine so far. It's too many games. I said it this morning. Seeing 2 teams now with their playoff hopes like in the balance, with key personnel out for the better part of the season. This is absolutely ridiculous. Like, the Montreal Canadiens are supposed to take a step this year, and now it's like, well, we'll see. Maybe we're there and he's back, but we'll focus on next year again. It's terrible.
780-218-9999. It is 2 guys and a goalie. It is presented to you by GS Construction. This text is, and it says, guys, didn't Dermott play in Erie? Maybe they're thinking of him. Plus the other Brown played for Knobloch. That is true. For the guy who was saying, Josh Brown is like the one guy who doesn't cut it. Like Dermott played in Erie. Knobloch would be familiar with him. That might actually be working against Josh Brown in that situation. So,
yeah.
Something to keep tabs on. All right, we're going to get to Hired or Fired coming up in a little bit. If you have any Oilers questions, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. You can also hit us up over the nasty chat. I have tabulated our top 30 players, and we've got our 2 guys and a goalie, top 30 players heading into the National Hockey League this season. Now, this is the first time I've ever done this in Excel. Usually I like write it out and then add it all up. I have to say, boys, Excel is amazing. Like this took me like 10 minutes to put it in, get the value on where everybody is, and then tabulate it over and then sort it down as just it saved a lot of time. So we've got the top 30. We'll probably just go 30 through 20 today. We'll see how long this takes, but we can go 30 through 20 today. Then we could do 30 through 21, then 20 through 11 on Thursday, and then the top 10 on Tuesday before the season starts. So now it is interesting. There were 2 guys who were high enough on one of our votes that got into the top 30.
Oh, really?
Even though the other 2 of us didn't have them on the on the list. So, but let's start here. Myself and Gager both had this guy on our list. He comes in at number 30. He's one of just, I believe, 2 goaltenders in the top 30. Connor Hellebuck is number 30 on our list of top 30 players in the National Hockey League heading into this season. Gager, one of 2 goalies on this list. We all had the other guy who's a little bit higher up on the list. Connor Hellebuck just continues to get it done for the Winnipeg Jets, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best on the planet. He's a major reason why the Winnipeg Jets make it into the playoffs each year. I think he covers up a lot of the defensive deficiencies with that team. But you look at it last year, and I know that the Jets' special teams kind of failed them in the playoffs, but you get a tired Hellebuck at game 83. They have to find a way to, And I know he wants to play. Every goalie wants to play, but he's just, you can't tell me that was the same Connor Hellebuck that you saw in the first round that you see throughout the regular season.
No, you're right. I don't think that's the same guy. Cash, you didn't have him on your list. Why not? Why do you hate him?
I don't hate him. He just probably would be just outside of that top 30. I mean, I think I hummed and hawed with some of the guys that I had at the top there if he should be on it. So it wasn't like I don't want to say I didn't consider him. I definitely considered him at the, in that 29 to 30 mark. But I just the reason I kept him off and the reason that I only have one goalie on there is just they're replaceable at this point. Like, it's just that has changed. And granted, he's one of the less replaceable goalies, but it's like you don't need the best goalie in the league to win and to win a Stanley Cup. And so it's like, is he really good? Yeah. Does he make a difference? Absolutely. Is he in my top 50 and top 40? Yes, he is. He absolutely is. But he just does not quite make the cut into the top 30 players.
Duck Dad says only 2 goalies on the list. The union is coming for Gager.
Oh, trust me, my list was full of them, but these 2 boneheads don't like goalies.
All right, so Hellebuck sits at number 30 on the list. Number 29 on the list. Little surprised with where this guy ended up. I thought he'd be a little bit higher. Maybe my Excel spreadsheets weren't working properly.
Uh-oh.
No. Adam Fox.
Oh, did he?
Comes in at number 29 on the list. Yeah, Cass, you had him at
17.
You had him at 17. I had him at 24. Gager had him outside of the top 30.
Yeah.
Okay, Gager, what is it about Adam Fox that you don't necessarily love?
Just really good defenseman. I understand that, but I just don't think he's as good defensively. I went for all-around defenseman for this pick, and I just after last year, I had him just outside. But
just outside, but he comes in number 29 on the list. Cash, you like Adam Fox? You were highest. You were the high guy on him.
74 points, 72 points, 73 points, plus 18, plus 28, plus 21. I don't love plus minus stats on this, but without digging into it too much, where it's like, I just don't know how you generally plays quite a few games. 78 games played, 82 games played, 72 games played. So he's healthy. I mean, he's a stud. He's an
steady.
absolute right shot. Steady. Yeah, right shot, steady point producing guy. I mean, I was surprised, Gager. I'm surprised you had him outside of that top 30.
I just thought there was other D-men that make a bigger impact, but not that he doesn't.
He's a good defenseman. I mean, we got him 29th on the list. I'm just trying to add up how many defensemen are ahead of him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got him as the 6th best defenseman in the National Hockey League. So I don't think
that's... Of course, Cass's man crush is up there somewhere.
7th best defenseman, I think. He's coming up. Not as high as you would have liked, Cass. So I'll tell you that.
I'm not surprised.
All right, number 28 on our list of the top 30 players in the National Hockey League. All 3 of us had this guy on our board. All 3 of us had him down in the 20s, which is where he settles in at 28. Jack Eichel. Eichel's like... obviously he's not in that top tier, but he's pretty consistently in that next group of guys, right, Cass?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, absolutely. Consistently there. He's a fantastic player. I mean, listen, he's not upper echelon and then he's like the top 10 guys in the league, but it's like, he's pretty consistent. He has the ability to take over a game. Has the ability to put points up, can play in his own end a little bit. Like he is just a good player that at times can be dominant. And to me, that gets him into the top 30.
All right. Gager, any thoughts on Eichel?
No, it's Cass put it out there. Good player. I think he's a great complementary player, right? Yeah. Once he finds someone he can make other players he plays with better, but he also needs good support as well.
Yeah. Best player on a team though, right? Like he's that guy, but he's not going to carry the entire thing like the 7 or 8 forwards in
Mark
the top
Stone,
10.
right? That's
Yeah. All right. Number 27 on the list. I had him in the low 20s. Cass had him at 15 or 14. And Gager did not have him in the top 30, just outside the top 30. Cass, the floor is yours on Roman Josi. Once again, you can't quit this guy. I love it.
No, he slid down my list. He's slid down as he gets older. He probably will continue to, but like
you had him at 16. Yeah, 16.
Yeah, I had him at 16 on mine. I don't know. Like, how do you not have this guy in your list as one of the best defensemen in the league? Like, he single-handedly has carried Nashville to being a decent team. And this year, gentlemen, when you're going to see, I think, an improved Nashville Predators team, a good Nashville Predators team, a playoff, in my opinion, Nashville Predators team, Roman Josi is going to be a huge part of that. I mean, he's still one of the best defensemen in the league. He is one of the best defensemen in the league. Like, you can't, the evidence you have to provide to me to prove that Roman Josi doesn't belong as one of the top 5 defensemen in the league is just like, I don't know, like how are you going to prove that to me? Because I can prove to you, even like statistically, we can get there. I'm just going to pull up his, so I don't quote his stats wrong. If we look at his analytics are great. 96 points, 59 points, 85 points. The guy's he's an absolute horse. And the minutes he plays, the situations he plays, the guys he plays against, on a team that isn't a high offensive producing team or hasn't been the last number of years, he has been a guy that's been a massive, massive, massive driver of that. So, yeah, I mean, I know you guys hate his guts, probably because he's European, but you guys are just jerks that way. He absolutely deserves to be in that conversation of the top guys in the league. He's one of the best defensemen in the league.
I just did it because I knew Cass would have him high.
I
didn't want him as high as Cass had him.
Okay, my Excel skills.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I
screwed up. I screwed up. I missed 7 voting points for Adam Fox. So technically, he would be like at number 22 on the list. Okay. Which might make things a little bit. I missed my 7 points that I have from because I had him like 23. So sorry, boys. I'm trying to rework this list to go. I was just like, oh, Excel, it's so easy. Now I'm looking, I'm like, well, I missed this number. How'd that number not go in there? Oh, everything's getting all turned around. Who did we just do? We just did, Roman Josi, of course. All right, number 27 technically on the list as I move Fox up on the go. Mitch Marner. With the offensive skill this guy has, should Mitch Marner not be higher on this list? Or is this just who he is now?
I think it's just who he is now. There's a reason they talk about trading him every 10 seconds in Toronto, right? And if he was higher up the list, there probably wouldn't be. High offensive output, not fantastic defensively, hasn't found ways in the playoffs to get it done. And everyone, just blames him for everything in Toronto. So he can't be that good, can he?
No, he is constantly blamed all the time for everything. I mean, is he just one dimensional? Is that just what Mitch Marner is, or like? Well,
I think
they seem to hate him out there.
In that area forward, I find you're going to have a great regular season player in most cases, right? Hasn't really got. I think when you get to the playoffs and have that type of success, that moves you further down the list, and he just he hasn't been able to produce like a superstar should in the playoffs.
All right. So I think I've updated the list properly.
All right.
Excel be damned. Number 30, Connor Hellebuck. Number 29, Jack Eichel. Number 28, Roman Josi. Number 27 is Mitch Marner, who we just got to. Fox has been elevated up to number 24 on the list, as opposed to the 29 where he originally was. Number 26 on the list is a guy that Cass and I did not have on our list. Some may accuse Gager of making it a homer pick, but you've got Zach Hyman so high that he ends up coming in at number 26 on our list. Scored 50 goals last year. I mean, I'll give you that.
Everyone Zach Hyman plays with, he makes better. And I know he plays with Connor McDavid, but 53 goals, 54 goals last year?
He had a ridiculous year last year.
Unreal year. This guy's being talked about to be playing in the Four Nations Cup. Like, come on.
He'll be on that team.
He keeps getting better. Like, I don't know. I'd love to see what Coolbet says of the goal total over under for Zach Hyman. Is it close to last year? I think it is. I mean, this guy could have back-to-back 50-goal seasons with that amount of power play time, how playing with Connor McDavid How do you not have this guy in the top 30?
Cass, how far down the list would you have gone? What did we talk about it last week? Wasn't he in the 40s? Or he was like 34, 35 on the TSN page, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'd have him in the 40s,
Yeah.
most likely. I mean, I didn't run the list that far back, but if I just think about it objectively, I'd probably have him in the 40s, with the reason being, and similar to what we discussed before, he's a fantastic player, amazing player. I mean, being in the top 40 in the NHL, one of the top 40 or 50 players in the world, like that's an amazing feat. That's saying a lot about how good we think he is and how good I think he is. But he's not a guy that just drives everything himself. He's had the pleasure of playing with McDavid and Draisaitl, who are going to be way up there on all of our lists, pretty much right at the tippy top. And like he had a fantastic season last year, high shooting percentage last year, scored a ton of goals, and is a great player. But if I think about, if I'm rating the best players in the league, he doesn't cut that top 30. I don't begrudge Gager for having him on there. It's not like it's like a horrible, like, oh, this is awful. How dare you put him on that list? It's more like, no, I personally have him shaded a little bit lower.
He was one of 5 or 6 guys I was considering for my 30th spot.
Yeah.
That was kind of where it was at. And the guy I had in my 30th spot didn't end up making our list anyway. So Zach Hyman comes in at number 26 on the list. His teammate, Evan Bouchard, comes in at number 25 on the list. Gager, you had him the highest out of us. I had him on the list. Cass, you did not have Bouchard on the list.
Nope.
So let's start with your thoughts on Bouchard not being on the list, especially as a Roman Josi lover.
As a Roman Josi lover. No, Bouchard for me sits just outside. Like he's inching up. So he was another one of those guys that was kind of right at the top. Or right like at that 30 mark where it's like really I could have seen him sliding anywhere from 29 to 32, 33, so him and Hellebuck were kind of in that, where those were two guys where I'm like, these are guys that are they're in the wheelhouse of that. Evan Bouchard, again, like Evan Bouchard's a fantastic player. He has largely benefited from being on the power play with McDavid and with Draisaitl. If we were to put him on another team with a different power play, would he still produce? Absolutely, he would. He's a great defenseman and a great power play defenseman, but he's not a guy that I think would have anywhere close to the same level of success that he would without those guys. And that's not trying to say something negative about him. That's not trying to say the Edmonton Oilers shouldn't pay him what he's going to be worth, because clearly, especially with Draisaitl, and if you lock McDavid in for another extension in the long term, he is going to absolutely pump out points in the power play. Like he is incredibly effective in the offensive zone. He still just has those big moments defensively where he has 5 bell turnovers, where he has, that patience that serves him so well in the offensive zone can be a little bit of a challenge defensively. And if I'm looking at the other defensemen on here, I'm still like, okay, Adam Fox, I think, not quite as much, hasn't had, at least that I've seen, observed, and heard about, doesn't have those moments as much as Evan Bouchard. Now, can he continue to climb up this list? Absolutely. He's still a young guy with growth potential in his game, but he's just like hovering just outside of that top 30.
Bouchard had 82 points. He was a point per game defenseman last year. Gager, you were the highest on him. I know Smitty the Welder's like, you have Bouchard higher than Fox. Now, technically on our list, Fox will come in higher after my readjustment. Why Bouchard so high?
It's obviously a little bit biased because I watch him so much, but from what we saw from the beginning of the year and where he ended up, I believe he became an all-around really good defenseman. That shot, the ability to beat goalies from distance, and I know it's a special power play, but it's special because he's part of it too. Tyson Barrie, it was the best power play ever. He gets traded. You insert Bouchard, it actually gets better when he gets in there. And I just, this is a guy that's he's going to flirt around that same number again this year, and he doesn't have as much Swiss heritage, and so that's why I like him.
All right, so we've got Bouchard at 25. Then we get to Adam Fox after the recalculation. He's up to 24. Number 23 on the list is another defenseman and a different type of defenseman. Number 23 on the list, just ahead of Fox and Bouchard, is a defenseman who had 73 points 2 years ago, only had 54 points in 71 games last year. So I guess I'm wondering, are we expecting more from this guy still at some point? But Miro Heiskanen comes in just above those other two guys on the list. Cass, you had him at 21. I had him at 18. Go ahead and speak on Heiskanen and the potential that he's still bringing to the table at 25 years old.
Yeah, well, he's still just a baby, 25 years old. He's big, can play really well defensively. Yeah, he didn't generate as much offensively last year as seasons past, but listen, this guy's he's a stud too. Can produce offense, can play really good defense, can play really difficult minutes. He's big, he's mobile. To me, is still a young developing player where we're still like 2 years away from seeing his best. Like he's rock solid to me. Like I do think he's one of the best defensemen in the league. And yeah, he's fantastic. He is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, he's great in my top. I think I had him 21, as you said.
Admitted Finnish bias here. I mean, I love this guy. But I still feel like there's probably more there with this guy still. As Cass said, we might not see his best in a couple of years.
Cass laid it out perfectly. The age, the amount of minutes that this guy plays, he plays against the opposition's top players and still has the ability to put up points like that. But yeah, I thought about it and I didn't. If you probably asked me in a couple of weeks after seeing him, I'd probably put him in the...
I was going to say, if you would have watched him after he put up 16 points in 19 playoff games.
Yeah, I'd probably do. He's a whale of a player.
All right, that's a run on defenseman. I don't think we see another defenseman until we get to the top 10. So a steady diet of forwards coming up here. We'll get to two more today. And this is interesting. Two Swedes, two different style of players, but two incredibly talented players. Number 22 on the list, and then we'll kind of group them together. I'll just tell you what's coming. Number 22 is Elias Pettersson, and number 21 is William Nylander. So let's dive into this. We both had them. I mean, we're pretty even across the board. Pettersson was in the 20 range for all of us. Cass or Gager, you were pretty high on Nylander. So let's start with Pettersson. 191 points in his last two seasons, Cass. Like just a phenomenal offensive talent here.
Yep. And then just disappears for games at a time at times. No, he is. He was one. I had him at 22. That he tickled my fancy to maybe be a little bit higher than that. And maybe it's just seeing, the playoffs where
one goal in 13 games in the playoffs this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Where him not really getting it done tainted it a little bit for me on him and his ability to produce points in the regular season, which has been absolutely fantastic. Incredibly skilled player, fun to watch, really, really slick out there. But seems to find those moments in some big moments where he just isn't quite able to get it done, which to me slid him down the list a little bit. So yeah, I mean, he's, if he's on and playing and engaged and doing really well, then yeah, he's a heck of a player. Again, still a pretty amazing accomplishment. Or it speaks highly of him that we would have him in that top 30. But yeah, I think playoff performance ground him down a little bit.
You guys actually both had him at 22.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, you guys both had him at 22. I had him just a little bit lower.
Yeah, I mean, 100-point season. Very like his hockey IQ, very creative. Like knowing where everyone is on the ice, his ability to distribute the puck. I'm looking forward to watch. I think what the whole plan in Vancouver is for him to play with a young Jake DeBrusk too, right? And DeBrusk kind of reminds me a little bit of, has that Hyman-esque a little bit, right? Skilled, but goes to hard areas. That could be a big year for Jake. So good for him.
And one spot ahead of Pettersson is Nylander. Gager, you had him at 15. Cass, you had him at 25. I had him at 26. Gager, you're high guy by a little bit on Nylander. You like this guy? Or
well,
what?
Just his playoff performance. He's been the best out of the big four the past few seasons in the playoffs. Again, like really highly skilled. Didn't shy away. Like I think the knock against him was his physical play, but come playoffs, there is a physical component to his game. After watching the Leafs the past 2 seasons when the games mattered most, he just was one of the, out of all those guys, was the guy I noticed most in those games.
Cass, let me ask you this. You're starting a franchise today. You going Nylander or Pettersson?
Probably lean Pettersson. And I know like Willie Nylander in the playoffs, but I'd probably still lean Pettersson. I think just that is tough. I mean,
that's a tough question.
It's a tough one. I'd be happy with both of them.
Centerman winger though too. Well, Nylander can play center too. That's what they're
hoping he's going to be their second line center this year. So
yeah,
ask me in a year, Dusty.
Yeah. It is a tough one though. That's a tough.
That is a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Man, if you're watching right now or listening or whatever, Nylander or Pettersson to start a franchise around, who would you take? I honestly don't even know what I would answer to that. I watch Pettersson more than I watch Nylander, so maybe I'm more familiar with him.
It's weird that I'm leaning Pettersson too, even with the playoff performance.
All right, there you go. That's 21 through 30. We'll have 20 through 11 on Thursday. We've got Nylander, Pettersson, Heiskanen, Fox, Bouchard, Hyman, Marner, Yossi, Eichel, and Connor Hellebuck in 21 through 30 in the top 30 players in the National Hockey League heading into this season. Let's get to Hire It or Fire It. Brought to you by GS Construction. You know how this works, boys. Hire it or fire it. Simple as that. Let's start here. Podkolzin looks better than I thought he would. Hire it or fire it.
Hire it. Looks good. Physical play. Can skate well. Had a few good chances. Thought he was going to score last night. I got his stick lifted. Goes to the net. I like everything I've seen so far.
Yeah, hire it. He's looked a little better. Yeah, I can run with that.
Yeah. To me, he looks like an everyday guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Like, I think he looks like an everyday guy. I kind of thought he would be an everyday guy, but I wasn't, now it's preseason. Let's see how he looks. But with what he's done so far in the preseason, I look at it and go, well, he can definitely be a fourth line guy for you, for sure. Yeah. So, all right. The Bruins should just trade Swayman. Hire it or fire it.
Oh, you go first, Cass.
Got to get a goalie back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Not gonna be easy
I can't remember where I saw it. Wasn't someone saying, to Ottawa for
they're joking about that for Allmark.
Yeah. Fire it. I mean, fire it. You got to find a way to make it work. Like, you're not, like, who are you going to get back that's going to be reasonable from a cost standpoint, that's going to provide? Yeah, I got to fire it.
Got to get this deal done. I think they need each other. They just got to get a deal done. Seabass has got to keep it out of the media.
He's fiery though. He's
he
mad.
is, isn't he?
He's really
because usually everybody just wants to be a part of what the Bruins are doing. Like, this is probably him being like, wait a second. You don't want to be a part of this? Excel is the most useful tool on a computer. Hire it or fire it.
Hire it.
Okay, but you guys both financial guys, right? Like,
yeah, I gotta hire it. And there's other ones that are really good too, but yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very smart program.
It's the smartest thing ever.
Really?
Oh gosh. I get caught on TikTok watching.
You don't watch Excel videos on TikTok, do you?
I do. I watch the Excel Olympics.
What, there's an Excel Olympics?
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, they put this problem up on the board and these guys just look at it and solve it.
In Excel.
Yeah.
So they put like a regular problem up on the board and you have to use Excel to solve it.
Yeah.
With formulas and all that stuff. The only formula I know how to do is sum.
Yeah. Well, I know some, but I'm sure Cass used the time value money equations all the time.
What?
But yeah,
you got those. Yeah, there's lots.
There's tons, man.
I'd never learned Excel ever. Like,
for client meetings too, it's perfect because you can
you're sorting into portfolios and stuff.
Mark when you've talked to them what they're like. It's so good.
Huh? I guess maybe I need to dive into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I was so amazed with myself when I added up our totals and then tabulated them all in order, and it moved all of the rows in order.
Well, you saw my the F1.
Yeah.
So I just add the number and it tabulates it.
Does it all because you got the formula.
You could also do like averages, Dusty.
Yeah.
So if you have anyway.
Interesting. So we could have done an average on like where Leon Draisaitl was and our thing. Oh, neat.
Yep.
I got to learn this stuff.
I've got Excel for Dummies at home. It's like this.
It's huge. I don't read books. I don't read books, man. There's no time. Books take too long to read. All right, and let's wrap with this one. Oilers fans should be worried about a Stanley Cup hangover. Hire it or fire it. I should say a Stanley Cup final hangover because they didn't win it. Hire it or fire it.
I'm gonna fire it. I think they're too mature now, and they've gone through so much heartache, and just they seem like a team. Like they're not the way they're playing now. It seems like they're ramping up for the regular season. Yeah, fire it.
Yeah, fire it. Fire it. I mean, there's too much.
Have to hire it a little bit, but I did say
you
can
hire it a little bit.
7-2-1.
I fire it. I think the pain of losing in Game 7 is just too great. Where there's going to be fire there. So yeah, I got to fire it.
All right, fans, what do you think? 780-218-9999. Big Brain Jay over on YouTube says, guys, I'm a Flames fan, but so far this seems like a pretty cool show. Hey, thanks, Big Brain Jay.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll hate us come March. When Oilers are ramping up. Well, we'll see where Calgary ends up. But
hey, I would say after watching some Calgary games, I don't think they're going to be as. I mean, I know it's preseason, and I think they're a lot better than what I thought they would be.
Is there some fight in that dog?
I think so.
There is. I've been saying that, though. I think there is. They have some good young players. They have a pretty solid D anchored by Mackenzie Weegar. You know, there's some question marks in goaltending right now, but
I don't know. Even Vladar is good, though, Cats.
Yeah, like they're further along. Like I know it's a rebuild, but it's like a rebuild where they're not starting from absolute scratch, like a San Jose.
It's a retool.
Right? Like it's just, they're going to be better than I think some people expect, and they're going to surprise some people this year.
It's too bad because there's another Aginla coming along. That would be kind of funny to.
Well, that would be kind of
yeah.
All right, Tango says in the chat to that Flames fan, if you like this show, you should check out the next two shows. That is correct. Coming up next, EST Afternoons with Joaquin Gage and Hernan Salas. They will have a chance for you to qualify for the EST Flyaway to LA. That's a trip for two to Los Angeles, December 26th to December 30th. NBA hoops, NFL football, NHL hockey. It's going to be a very cool trip.
And we're talking all Flames.
And it's all Flames today. So you definitely want to, just kidding, Oilers fans. I know there will be some Elks talk there too.
Yes, there probably will
at
be.
quarterback, whatever's going on there right now with Jarius Jackson. And then the Reed Wilkins Show coming up a little bit later on today from 3 to 6 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Huge shout out to GS Construction for being the presenting sponsor of Two Guys and a Goalie. I will talk to you on the Nielson Show tomorrow. Take it easy.